Lunch and Learn session. This is a kickoff of what we hope to have many more to come in the future. We've shared some ideas, whether it's technology related or learning and development related, talent development, that type of thing. So we hope you enjoy this session. And today we are pleased to introduce our technology partner for 2016, LEARNPORT. We have Ben Aregi and Steve Price with us. And today's topic, as you all know, is LMS Essentials. So Ben and Steve are going to share some best practices that they've encountered with implementing LMSs within organizations here in the Sacramento area, and also share with you a case study of one of those implementations. We're all talent development professionals. We encourage you to not be shy. Feel free to ask questions throughout the presentation. There's also the chat box, so you can use the chat to ask questions as well. So again, feel free to ask a question at any time. This is an informational session and sharing of ideas. And so also be on the lookout. We're going to send out a survey, because this is one of those early sessions or one of those first sessions like this that we've done in a while. We're certainly receptive to your feedback, and we want your ideas on topics that may interest you in the future as well. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over to our partners, Ben and Steve. Thank you for joining us and for sharing some ideas with us today.
Thanks, Todd, and good afternoon, everybody. This is Ben Aregi with LearnPort. Thank you for joining us today. Many of you know us from our relationship with ATD as far as our online training platform. I know quite a few of you have memberships to our online learning platform, which gives you access to the entire Skillsoft catalog with various courses, videos, books, etc. What a lot of you don't know about us is that we manage a learning management system for many state agencies and other private businesses. I was talking with Todd a little while ago about other things that we could do to bring some benefit to the ATD membership, and there was a theme that kept coming up at some of the meetings that I was attending, and it seemed as if there were many people out there who were tasked with the task of looking for learning management systems for their organizations or corporations. So it seemed we didn't realize that that's something that we do and we provide. So we thought about putting this webinar together, and hopefully you'll get some benefit from it. We have quite a bit of information to go over today, and we want to be respectful of the time that we allowed. So we're going to try to go through this fairly quick. As Todd mentioned, or ask questions as you have them. And if you don't get a chance to get your question in, or you think of something after the fact, feel free to contact me directly. All the information that I'm going to go over is going to be available in a document that I created, and I think Todd will send it out to you afterwards. If you don't receive it, feel free again to send an email to Todd or myself, and we'll get you that document. So don't feel as if you have to take copious notes right now. Just go ahead and sit back and relax and listen, and everything that I'm going to be presenting to you will be available in a document after the fact.
Ben, and we'll send that to everyone on today's call. Ben, we'll send that to everyone on today's call along with the feedback survey after the session's over today.
Okay, perfect. So you all will receive it. Don't have to worry about emailing us. The agenda for today, LMS basics. So what I'm going to cover is why use an LMS, the additional benefits you can get from an LMS with the advancement of technology, and then when it comes time to look for an LMS, what should you look for? How do you go about trying to find one? After that, we're going to talk about some of the work that we are doing with the various state agencies that we work with, and how we've been able to implement our LMS into their organizational operations, not just as a software that's used to track learning and training, but really to be the brains and the central, I guess, heartbeat, if you will, of their organization. So we'll go over that, and then finally we will actually log into one of our portals so you can see the LMS live in person, ask questions, and that's Steve's area of expertise, and that's what he'll be going over. And then we will leave some time at the end again for questions. Feel free to ask them as we're going along, but we will leave time at the end for any additional questions. So why an LMS? First thing is, the nice thing about the audience today is I don't have to explain to you why learning and training is important, and why the ability to learn and track and record and report training is important. So thank you for sparing me those details. As far as an LMS, there's been some traditional reasons why companies and organizations have decided to implement an LMS into their training and development strategy. There's 8 main points that we have come to realize that that's what most people think of when they think of an LMS. And again, don't feel like you need to write these down. You'll be getting these. But the first one is organize learning content in one location. Make it easy for everybody to access their learning content. Don't make them have to do various logins, go to different places. Get it all in one spot. The second reason for an LMS, you're providing unlimited access to e-learning materials. Unlimited access means that at any time, any day, you name it, people can go in there, learn what they need to learn, take the courses as they need, and not have to be constrained to dates and times and certain materials and courses only being offered on certain days. So you're really giving them 24/7 access to the learning content. Third reason for an LMS, you're tracking the progress and performance of the learner. So that does a couple things for you. One, it tells you about the individual performances of your employees and staff, but it also allows you to track the efficiency of your learning and see if it's really hitting the mark. So you're getting a couple benefits from the LMS as far as tracking learning progress and performance. Fourth reason for an LMS, you're reducing learning and development costs. You now don't have to go out to brick and mortar institutions to get your training. You can keep it all in-house, not all of it in-house, but you can keep a majority of it in-house. And the time that's spent on travel, lodging, signing up for those courses, classes, you name it, you can reduce a lot of those costs by having an LMS that can handle everything in-house. Reducing learning and development time increases efficiency. That's pretty straightforward. Obviously, everything here at your fingertips when you need it. You don't have to go and hunt for it. It increases efficiency in the operation altogether. Sixth reason, you're keeping up with compliance regulations. Obviously, that's a big important topic. All sorts of compliance regulations that are out there. This is a way to make sure that you are taking the proper compliance courses that you need to, whether you're a manager, an employee, a director. You can keep all this information right here, set reminders so that you know if every 2 years, if you need to take that sexual harassment training, you're going to get a reminder that tells you need to do that. Seventh bullet point for an LMS, you are able to quickly and conveniently expand your e-learning courses and keep content relevant. With our LMS and many other LMS, it's very easy to turn any sort of document, PDF, webinar, speech, you name it. You can turn it into a learning asset very easily and upload it into your LMS. So very easy, again, to conveniently expand and update e-learning courses. And then the last point is to integrate social learning and encourage communication within the organization. That's pretty straightforward. I know that that's been a topic at a few of the ATD meetings that I've gone to, just the idea of not only getting the employees to want to learn and want to develop their talent, but also to actively engage with each other, share what they're learning, share their ideas, and again, just overall encourage that communication. And the nice thing with an LMS, it gives you the platform to do that, but it also is tracking and recording those conversations, those ideas, so you can reference it whenever you need. So again, these are the traditional reasons on why organizations have sought the use of an LMS. As I mentioned before, with the advancement of technology, there are many other features and benefits that an LMS can provide. And as I sort of mentioned before with our state agencies, we're now using the LMS to be the brain or the heartbeat of the organization. And that's where a lot of companies are taking their LMS and turning it into that. So sometimes the named learning management system can be a little misleading just because people, that's what they think of. They think of tracking learning, tracking training. Well, now you can almost run your organization from an LMS, and that's what we're starting to do with a lot of our clients. So additional benefits from an LMS, thanks to the advancement of technology. The main thing that we're doing at the state that's really kind of changing the way that business is handled over there and really creating some efficiencies and reducing some redundant practices is we are implementing and integrating other softwares that the state uses, whether it be HR, payroll, different types of software they use. We're able to incorporate them into the LMS and thus centralizing all the different access points to these different softwares, centralizing all the reporting to these softwares, and then also centralizing the distribution of information. So now instead of having to go to one separate login for HR, one separate login for payroll, you can now just go to your learning management system and access all of these various softwares from one place. The second benefit this is partially beneficial for the state, but for a lot of our private clients, the ability to access the LMS, and not just access it, but have the full capability of the LMS on your smartphone, has been a huge benefit for companies who rely on remote employees that are out in the field, employees that just don't come to an office 8 hours a day. They can get information to these employees, and in turn, these employees can get information back to wherever it needs to be via the LMS, and this can be handled on their smartphone. The third benefit with technological advances, I mentioned it before, but the ability to take any presentation, webinar, speech, commercial, etc., and turn it into a learning asset within minutes. We have a lot of clients who will take their phone, shoot a 30-second video, a minute video, whatever it may be, upload it to the LMS, and now they have a learning asset that literally took them 1-2 minutes to do. The webinar that we're doing today, we're recording this. If you choose to, you could put it on your LMS within minutes, and now you have this webinar as a learning asset. So it's very easy to take any information that you have and turn it into a learning asset and expand your catalog and keep your information relevant and up to date. The fourth benefit is Yep.
Before we move forward, can you advance to slide 4, the key points you just mentioned about what to look for in an LMS?
You're right. Why an LMS? I went over those, so sorry about that. Here's that slide. Thanks, Todd. So again, the sharing, let's see, I just talked about turning things into a learning asset. The fourth benefit is the sharing capabilities with an LMS, and I mentioned that before, but the ability to share information in real time and to also be able to distribute that information to the correct person, the correct department, the correct hierarchy. Now not only are you delivering relevant, consistent, up-to-date information, but you're also making sure that you're sending it to the people who really need to see it, and you're not inundating staff that doesn't need to see every single message or exchange out there. You're able to, again, get the information, the relevant information to the right people at the right time. Again, just creating efficiencies within the organization. Wrong button. Chat platforms. Chat platforms are another way to encourage that social interaction and encourage discussions. And again, everything's tracked and recorded. What we have found is that when you chat platforms, they're more of an informal discussion area. A lot of times you get input from people who normally would not feel comfortable putting their ideas out there, sharing their information. And again, this is an informal way for you to create a platform where an otherwise, maybe not shy is the right word, but a person who wouldn't be as forthright with their information and ideas, they feel comfortable in this type of environment to share their information and encourage those discussions. The sixth benefit with the new technology is the ability to gamify and create contests and create surveys with all of the different types of learning that you're offering with your LMS. You all know about gamification and how that can be a benefit to encourage people and incentivize people to learn. Contests do the same thing. Surveys, well, this is a great way to get feedback, again, to really dial in your learning and make sure that what you're presenting is going over well, that it's relevant, and that the people who are taking the courses or classes feel like it's a benefit to them as well. So again, gamifications, contests, surveys, those are all great benefits of LMSs. Seventh benefit is, this has been more recent with our LMS, but the ability for you to have live instructor-led training be tracked and recorded in the LMS. Now, I'm not talking about taping the class and then making that a learning asset. You obviously can do that if you feel like it, but more the idea that you can schedule courses and classes for live in-person training, and for the instructor, you're able to, whether it be from your computer, your tablet, or smartphone, you can monitor signups, you can monitor people actually attending the class, and then you can also get information to the students after the class is over, all via the LMS. Our LMS actually has just developed a new, I can't think of the exact name, but it's basically a section of the LMS that is geared specifically towards live instructor-led training that allows that person to, again, mark attendance from their phone, mark signups from their phone, that sort of thing. So it's just another nice feature. Last thing that I'm going to bring up about as far as the additional benefits of LMS, now you can get an LMS and have it personally branded to your company or organization, your specifications, your logos, your coloring, your whatever wording you want to have on there. You can really make it yours and make it your own personal platform that promotes your company, promotes your brand, promotes the ideals and ethics and whatever else you want to be portraying to your employees. You're able to do that with being able to fully customize and brand the platform to your company's specifications. So now that you know the benefits of why you need an LMS and why you should have an LMS, well, how do you go about finding one? There are many different LMS providers out there, and there's not really one LMS that's going to be the best solution for every type of organization or entity. So the first thing you need to do is figure out what are you really trying to accomplish with your LMS. For instance, we work with a decent amount of school districts on our online learning platform. Well, for a lot of them, for some of them, our LMS is the best solution, but for a few of the school districts, they're looking for a learning management system that is specifically geared toward a student-teacher relationship interaction. Well, there are other LMSs out there that probably do a better job for some of the specific needs that they're looking for than our LMS. So again, the idea being you need to figure out what exactly you're trying to accomplish by incorporating an LMS into your organization, make a list of bullet points, and then you may find as you start going through the different options that are out there, you'll see that there's other features and functions that the LMS can take care of. But really, what are your needs? What are the main points you are trying to, or what are the main points you're trying to address by implementing an LMS into your organization? But these are some of the bullet points that we feel are probably some of the most important that you need to think about when looking for an LMS. The first point is your LMS needs to be visually engaging and user-friendly. That's really true with any software that's going to be used by the entire organization, by the staff. If it's hard to navigate, if it doesn't appeal to the audience, it's going to be ineffective. That's just the bottom line. So you need to have a platform that's visually engaging, user-friendly, and that's user-friendly for the people, the front-end users to use, or the staff, the people who are taking the courses, but also needs to be easy for the administrators on the back end to be able to do the reporting, to be able to add new learning assets. All of that has to be easy to navigate. So again, visually engaging, user-friendly. Second thing to look for in an LMS is you want to have an LMS that is fully functional on a mobile device. The world has already gone mobile, and if your organization or business has not developed a mobile enterprise solution with how you do your day-to-day operations, it needs to, because that's where everything is going. So having your LMS fully function on a mobile device is critical. It gives your staff and customers unlimited 24/7 access to the information, and that's what people are looking for. The third key topic, or key point to look for in an LMS, the ability to scale your LMS with minimal costs as your company grows, or as you want to expand it to access to your customers or clients. Most LMSs, you have the initial setup fee, and then you have yearly fees that go along with that, and then typically there are seat fees, basically a cost per person to have access to LMS on a yearly basis. Well, if you get something that's cost prohibitive to grow, then you're going to have to find another solution as your company grows. So there are plenty of LMSs out there that will scale with your corporation, and usually after the initial setup fees and the standard annual fees, it's just a matter of the per user seat fee that would be the additional expense as you grow as a company. You shouldn't have to pay for additional departments to be created in your LMS. Some companies charge for that, but you shouldn't need to do that. There's plenty out there that don't charge you for additional departments and additional administrator rights. The fourth point is the ease at which users are able to share information in real time. That goes back to the idea of social learning, engagement, interaction, and getting relevant, up-to-date information to the people who need it when they need it. So again, the sharing capabilities of the LMS, the engagement capabilities, the chat platforms, those are all critical. And then the last, and might even be the most important point, is you need to work with a company that is knowledgeable, obviously, about their own LMS, but they have to be able to, they need to be able to incorporate their LMS into your system and do it in a way that meets your specific needs and covers the specific points that you want them to cover. You can have a great software out, you can pay money for a LMS, but it's not going to do you much good if you don't have the proper personnel guiding you through the implementation and the integration of the system, and then making sure that it's working right. And then once the platform has been launched and is being used, you obviously need the support there to back you up. So those are the main points in what to look for in an LMS. And again, all of these points that I just told you, they're all going to be available in the document that we're going to send out after the fact. So don't feel like you needed to memorize all that. You'll get it later on.
And this is Todd. I have a question for you before you jump into the case study. On the previous slide, when we were talking about mobile accessibility, what advice would you give to organizations that perhaps struggle with that transition to mobile accessibility while still maintaining control of security of information?
Well,
Ben, you want me to grab
go
that
ahead,
question? Steve. Yeah, hi.
And everybody, real quick, yeah, this is Steve Price, and I'm gonna sign off here. I'm gonna turn it over to Steve, and Steve's gonna answer that question and talk to you a little bit more about our state LMS implementations, and then also show you the case study with the California Department of Food and Agriculture. So, Steve, here you go.
All right, everybody. First off, does anyone else have any questions so far? I mean, Ben kind of laid out quite a bit of information there, so I just want to give everybody a chance if anyone has any questions.
Steve, the question that I had was, what advice would you give to organizations that perhaps might struggle with that mobile accessibility and still maintain control of security of information?
And Todd, that's a great question, and it did prompt me to kind of butt in a little bit there. I apologize. And let me say one thing as well, for those of you who have not met me. I'm a cancer survivor, and I speak with a voice prosthesis, so I'm not a pirate, and I wasn't up all night drinking, so there you go. It's just kind of how my voice sounds. Anyway, that being said, the mobile aspect of things is really important. I'm going to jump in here right now really quick, and I'm going to share my screen. I believe I'm going to try to do that really quick. Let's see here. Actually, Ben, let's see. All right, so we'll try this one. And everybody should be seeing the cows.
Yes, I see it.
All right, great. So one of the aspects of our partnership with Bladen Media, we have several strategic partnerships at LEARNPORT, and we're quite proud of this one. We go back a number of years, and we have all the way back to 2009, as a matter of fact. With our friends up in Canada at Bladen Media, I'm actually been blessed with being able to help with some of the functionality here on version 5 that you're looking at. And one of those factors is the offline player. So what you're seeing right here, of course, is my computer screen on one of my monitors. But you also have the ability to enable the offline player, which is iOS only at this point. We're looking at an Android version in Q4, which is coming up next month. But you can download the app, assign specific courses to a user, a group of users, or automatically filter those courses to a user or specific groups of users by a variety of attributes. That would be job description, maybe position number, maybe their location. Those courses would be available offline on their mobile device. And then when they get back into the office or to some place where they have an internet connection, they can synchronize their transcripts. Very, very handy. The courses also work just like they work here on a mobile device. So if it doesn't matter what mobile device you're using in terms of viewing courses off the LMS, all you would need is an internet connection. So as you go to the catalog, now I'm a top-level admin on this, so I see all of these categories. But if you were just in the Office of Information Technology staff, you would just see specific curriculum. If you are assigned the ability through the filters to see desktop applications, then you would see these courses as well. And they work just as well on a mobile device as they do here. I'm also going to jump over to another portal, which is the Accelerated Care Plus portal. These folks are the therapists in the field. They use the devices that you see on the screen there: electrical stimulation, shortwave diathermy, and what they call pattern electrical neuromuscular. It's a mouthful. But you'll notice their dashboard looks considerably different than, say, the CDFA dashboard does. They have more tiles. They have other things here. These tiles point to what you want the learner to see. And they line up on your smartphone just in a row. So, for example,
that's helpful. No, it's okay. That's helpful, because I think that being able to filter and code the content so that it's only visible by people that were meant to see it, I think that definitely appeases some of relinquishes some of those concerns that leadership might have about proprietary information getting into the wrong hands and being on someone's mobile device and that type of thing. So I appreciate that. Before we get any further, there was a question in the chat box that I think we should address before we get any deeper. Guy Burgraff posted, what questions should a prospective vendor be asked to ensure training hosted on their LMS product is accessible for people with disabilities?
Another great question, and simply make sure your content is 508, developed with 508 compatibility in mind. In other words, does it work with the screen readers that are on the market? Does it have closed captioning that can be implemented for the hearing impaired? One of our strategic partners is Skillsoft. A lot of you have been on the LearnPort portal, and you'll notice that all of those courses are optimized for people with disabilities. You can turn the functionality on and off at will.
Okay, great. Guy, did that answer your question? If you want to write in the chat box, or feel free to speak up as well. Just want to make sure that that was sufficient for you. Great, thank you. All right, back to you, Steve.
All right, so back to the mobile discussion. You're looking at the Accelerated Care Plus dashboard. And you'll notice that on this specific dashboard, we have clinical resources, and they also have marketing resources. They actually have a whole nother division that they use this for prospective customers. And one of the nice aspects of this from a mobile perspective is if you have someone in the field that is performing a function, and Ben had alluded to this earlier about using a smartphone to record a training environment. You'll notice that here is a video right here that plays on demand. I should probably turn Amy down a little bit because she's kind of loud. But you'll notice that this video was recorded with an iPhone on a stand. And you'll notice the audio is good. She's wearing an external microphone, and it just works very well. I'm going to turn that off. Additionally, if you go over to additional resources and you pop into the marketing resources, you'll notice this video here is an animation that we created for the client utilizing an Adobe program, After Effects, to show from a marketing perspective what the ACP devices do. So again, these assets are available in the palm of your hand via your smartphone. So if you have a sales rep in the field, they could show this to a client. Or if you have a patient that's wondering, well, what's going to happen when you hook that thing up to me? Now you can show them. So again, just some of the flexibility of the platform, of our platform that Ben had mentioned earlier. I'm going to go ahead and shut that off. From the and again, if anyone has any questions, please just interrupt me, jump in. We also have the ability to record external training. So if you click Other Training and you open this, now someone that maybe went out to ISI and took some network training, or went over to New Horizons and took an Excel course, or went out and took a safety course over at Safety City or whatever, they could add that title when they did it. There's a date picker right here that pops up. Description, what cost, time spent, who the vendor was, and any necessary documentation, including a certificate, can be loaded up right into the system, and that's going to show up on the report for this learner and in that learner transcript. On the back end of the system, everyone gets a little bit, that's what I look like, by the way, if you're wondering. This is actually the California Correctional Department of Healthcare Services. I'm not going to show you any sensitive user data, but I am going to show you the administrator's dashboard. So for example, depending on how many people you would have as a direct report, this is very useful because you can click on this in a moment and see exactly how many learners you have in the system, when they last logged in, who the top learners are, most recent completions, recent logins, and the most popular. And this one is spent because they log minutes. They want to know, how much time has been spent at a specific time. So again, you also have a course dashboard. You can see your most active content, top courses by enrollment and completion, right at a couple of mouse clicks. Get your data done and get right back to work. You also have the ability as the administrator to save your generated reports and run them on demand. Again, this is a live site, so I'm not going to go any further in terms of what you can see there. Lastly, Ben mentioned branding. This is a sandbox. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, this is Todd. So just for comparison purposes, which one of these features are specific to your LMS versus what they might find in the marketplace when they're, their organizations doing their due diligence and looking at various platforms to compare to one another? I know Ben covered some of the what to look for earlier, but would you say many of these functions are mainstream, or is it pretty spotty one way or the other as far as what's out there in the marketplace as far as LMSs? Because I know there's a lot of them out there, and some are better than others. So.
Well, and that's a very good question. Of course, I would be disingenuous if I said this is not my favorite, because it is. This learning management system was designed to be user-friendly for both the end user as well as the administrative staff, the people that actually have to administrate, manage, and support the learning management system for their users. I have worked with a variety of different systems over the years, and the one thing that I have found that kind of runs true with learning management systems, and I'm sure there are people on the phone that would agree with me today, that they are not user-friendly and they are not intuitive. Quite differently with the Absorb LMS. It's very user-friendly, very intuitive, and I'm going to pop back over here. I'm going to close this. I'm going to go right here to the learner dashboard. You'll notice we have a menu item here. This was designed ergonomically to be right near your right thumb. So when you're on your smartphone, the menu drops down. Tiles are also easy to point to things, but more importantly, you can immediately jump right over to the administrator side. Manage your courses. Add a new online course. Ease of use and intuitive design, I would say, is the #1 thing to look for. When you add an online course, you can import a SCORM-wrapped bundle, which would be the manifest and zip file that would be created out of a variety of authoring tools, whether you're using Camtasia, exporting to SCORM 1.2, whether you're using Captivate for the variety of versions. Although the Adobe stuff really likes you to use Adobe's platforms, you can go back into the back end and set the export functions as to where if you're using Lectura or the Articulate products like, say, Storyline 2, you can load stuff right up from the SCORM wrapper and import that right in. So if you go to the import functionality, it brings it up. It's going to ask you, is it AICC? For example, the Skillsoft content we load in these courses are AIC. Is it a tin can, or what's better known as the XAPI type course? Or is it the older SCORM 2004? And then you just import your package right off your hard drive. Additionally, if you are adding an online course, now you'll notice that you have ease of use here. You have your general information, give it a title. Give it a description. You'll notice it's a fully formatted descriptive field. Additionally, you can pull in HTML and deep linking right into it. Put it in its category, badge it, add a thumbnail. When you get to the syllabus, you add a learning object. Here's where the rubber really meets the road on a learning management system. Is it intuitive enough for you to do objective learning objects, task-based learning? I'm going to show you what that is in a minute. If you're developing in Flash, it pulls a conduit right in, add a video, build an assessment, import a course in any of these formats like we were before, or perform a survey. Richard Dantel, one of our colleagues, I'm trying to be conscious of the time here, we're doing pretty good. He does a fun little exercise where he does a survey at the beginning of the course, and he built a little course called How to Make French Fries. And if you like cats, he's going to give you one recipe. If you like dogs, he's going to give you another. So this system intuitively, and again, something to look for in other learning management systems. Is it easy? Is it quick? Or are we going to spend 6 months learning how to use it? Traditionally with our folks, our administrators and course developers master this within several hours of their initial training. And they're up and running normally, traditionally, the first day. Again, very important. Where we run into huge problems with the state of California is their data comes from a variety, their employee data comes from a variety of different places. So one of the other things that you may want to consider, and I'm going to go ahead and pop back over to the learner side on the CDFA portal because we did a lot of work here. I'm going to go ahead and log out. Because of the fact that we did not have a consistent point to grab the learner data to batch upload everybody into the system with this particular portal build, and the fact that a lot of the employees are seasonal with food and ag. Some of them are way out in the field at a point of entry into the state. Others are out looking at bugs in the field. So we have a quite diverse employee population here. So one of the things we did here was a self-enrollment. So the key for this you put the key in. This is by department, so this is going to put everyone into a specific department. And you'll notice now we have restricted the learner with drop-down menus so that we get consistent pick your manager, pick your supervisor. We get consistent information in so that the system automates 90% of the administrative workload for their universal training coordinators. In other words, you pick your supervisor. It puts you into your supervisor's group. So when the supervisor looks at that dashboard I sent you, it just shows you their people. Again, these are ease of use, intuitive things that are important when you're out shopping for a learning management system, and some of the things we've done when we worked on the design, and we continue to evolve with the design of this platform. We want to make it as elegant as we can, but we also want to make it as user-friendly and as intuitive as we possibly can. This is a pretty intuitive self-service for the end user, and it's served us very well on the back end. I'll go ahead and log back in here really quick.
While you're logging in, just out of curiosity, how long have they had this LMS in place, and what has been the feedback so far?
Feedback's been very positive. I want to say we started deploying in March. I could get you the exact dates. We were live within 35 to 40 days, and then it's evolved through phases. You'll notice that when I put in that key and logged in, it's asking me if I want to add more content. You can also use those keys to push specific content to people. But to answer your question, I think we're started the process and the scoping. I think, Ben, what was that? I think it was February when we first went out and met with the client, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's when we went down to Teresa's offices, I believe.
Right. And then, when you're out shopping, you want to make sure that whoever the rep is that's representing the learning management system, whether they're from the technical side or whether they're from the sales side, you want to have your list of bullet points. Ben went out. Ben was rather new to the company at the time, and I kind of drug him kicking and screaming with us. Not really. He went willfully. But Teresa Swafford, who's the Learning and Development Manager for Food and Ag, she had done her homework. She had her laundry list. She had specific things that she wanted it to be able to do. And so you want to do your homework, in the sense of what do you want to have happen? You know what I mean? It's one thing to treat a learning management system like a giant database and just input training records and run reports. It's another thing to make it do what you want it to do. And then it's incumbent upon the supplier or the vendor or whatever label you want to throw on the LMS provider to tailor and customize the user interfaces for both the end users as well as the administrators. I feel personally, through my experience of doing this, I've been doing it a while. We've been working with state agencies I've personally been working with state agencies for over 18 years in one form or another. and I've seen a lot of what not to do. And again, at LearnPort, we're here to support ATD. If you have questions, if you're out shopping for a learning management system and you're engaged in the sales cycle, but you'd like some best practice input from us, either Ben or myself, more than welcome to answer your questions. No obligation, no strings attached. We're happy to do it. And I hope that answered your question.
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Hey, Stephen, one other point.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, one other thing I'd like to just throw in there is when you do create your bullet points of topics that you want to go over and make sure that the LMS can cover those, hopefully you find somebody that's knowledgeable and helpful and can give you all the answers you need, but also be aware that there's probably a lot of features and functions of the LMS that you're not aware of, and you may go into it with an idea that this is the best method to perform whatever task or function you're trying to get the LMS to perform. Well, keep in mind that the LMS provider has probably gone through similar scenarios many times, and they may have a better way or a more efficient way to accomplish what you're trying to accomplish. So I guess the bottom line is be open-minded to input and advice from the people who are providing the system, because that's something that we run into on a fairly regular basis, is initial resistance to our ideas on how to meet a need that the client is looking for, because the client has it in their mind, hey, it's got to be done this way, because normally it's because it's how they've always done it. That's not always the best case. So again, just go into it with an open mind that even though you have an idea on how this can be accomplished, and it probably can be accomplished this way, well, there might be a better use of the LMS that can do the same thing, do it more efficiently, do it however better it may be. So open mind is kind of the bottom line there.
And to dovetail onto what Ben just said, I think it's also and what this line of questioning has been around, I think it's also very important when you're out shopping for a learning management system to make sure that the provider allows you a sandbox to test things in before interrupting your live production. Very important. I clicked on one over here. This is actually one of multiple sandboxes. You'll notice up there, this is number 2 for the CDCR environment, and this sandbox is specific for content development folks, in-service training managers in the field at the prisons, food service commissary, custodial folks, healthcare people, so that they can create content, test it, vet it out, make sure the usability is exactly the way I want it for both the end user as well as the evaluators, the proctors, or the administrators. And then once it's approved, then we move it over to production. Very important. You don't want to send out messaging for people for something by accident, especially when you have, in the case of corrections, we have 58,000 in one division and another 28,000 in another. So you can only imagine the problems that you can create by sending all of them an email that they don't need. So yeah, again, sandbox environment, test environment, secure, very important. Lastly, what I'm going to show you, and then I'm going to open it up for questioning, is I had mentioned the self-enrollment process and controlling that when you have self-service involved so that you don't get inconsistent naming conventions. And you'll notice right here on my screen, I have the groups up. And in this left column over here, you'll notice that this is a variety of what they call program units. And you'll notice that there's automatically 9 folks that show up in that. And what happens is the supervisor of this group of program units now only sees their direct reports, which are those 9 people, greatly reducing confusion, clutter, allows that supervisor to log in, make sure they've seen or their folks have done the training that they've prescribed and get on with their job. Last point, and then I promise I will be quiet, is the reporting structure of any learning management system is extremely important. And you'll notice here I've got my screen blown up a bit so you can see it. But you'll notice that we have the other training, we have certificates. One of the things that's really cool about what we do with Food and Ag, and if we have any folks with the state on the phone, you'll know that, Department of General Services, for example, it has an online video for defensive driving. You go there, you watch it on their website, you get through, you take a little quiz, you get a certificate. So what we've done with Food and Ag is created a task-based course for you to do just that. You go out and you upload your certificate. So I'm just hoping that there are some tasks to be done here. We add the filter, and then we change the status to in progress. You'll notice that these statuses can be done by the administrator and the instructor. I'm not going to go into a big long demo. I'm just going to go to these folks, and I'm going to add this filter. And then you'll notice there are several folks in here who have uploaded their certificate, and they're pending either their supervisor or their training coordinator to go in and approve their certificate that it's properly signed, documented, etc. And then they will get credit for the course. Just a feature that I feel is very important over the years. Task-based learning from a learning management system. It's easier on the learners. It's easier on the administrators. And with that, I'm just going to open up. Anybody have any questions? And thank you all for listening to my rough voice. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you, Ben and Steve. Ben, can we go back to the presentation on slide 6 and just kind of recap some best practices while we give participants some time to type into the chat box? So just some of the key things that I think I took away from it personally were, one of your last points, Steve, is make sure there's a sandbox, somewhere to practice and vet and get all those perhaps software kinks out of the way before it goes live. You also mentioned something, do your due diligence. There's a lot of platforms out there. Know what have a laundry list of what you're looking for. You mentioned that one of your clients had a laundry list of things that they wanted, and then try to work with the LMS partner, in this case it was yourselves, to really match up what the wish list was and what the tool is capable of to determine the best way to make it function the way it needs to function for that organization. And then to your point about the security, making sure that it does have those layers of security so that the company's data is protected even when it's pushed to a mobile device, and having those multiple layers and that type of thing. So those were all very helpful to me, and hopefully others got that out of it. I'm going to look in the chat box here. Does anyone have any questions? And for those of you that called in, feel free to unmute your line and chime in as well. Well, we're waiting to see. I don't see any questions yet. Then if you could go to the next slide, I do want to make a few announcements because we do have some upcoming events. We have our monthly programs every month. In October, we do have Jessica Kreigels talking about the generational divide and how to minimize or eliminate generational stereotypes at work and how certain generations may be unfairly labeled. It's going to be a great program. It's one of our super sessions, so if you haven't registered for that, certainly encourage you to go to our website and do so. We also have our Katrina Kennedy sessions, our 6-part fundamentals for trainers. The Train the Trainer always sells out, always rave reviews on that program. Katrina is a phenomenal facilitator and a great coach, so that's a program that may interest you or perhaps some of your colleagues as well. And then the notorious Bruce Weiner, longtime ATD Sacramento member and previous board member for many years, is going to be talking about nudging, and it's the science of how to get people to take action, which I think we can all relate to, that sometimes that can be one of the big challenges. So that's another one of our programs. I do have a question for you. So I see it here in the box from Richard. He said, I know that the document will be sent, but is a video of this presentation going to be available? So yes, I will work with, as long as Ben and Steve are okay with that, I'll work with Janet and see what the best way is to post that video or make it available either on our website or on our Facebook page or somewhere where it's accessible to others. And so I'll certainly work on that, and I'll send you an email, Richard, and letting you know when that becomes available and in what form.
And Todd, also with that, on the document that you're going to be sending out to everybody who's in attendance today, there's 2 links on that document to webinars that were put on by Blatant Media with the Absorb LMS. One is a general overview of the LMS, and then the other is more of a, it shows the administrator interface, so more of the back-end features of the LMS. So those are going to be available to anybody who wants to.
And there's also a variety I'll add in of videos, and I don't know if you would like us to include the video on the Absorb LMS, but we're happy to do that if you'd like to. We did not produce it. Our friends in Canada did, but it's very informative.
Absolutely, yeah. Send that to me, and I'll make sure that's included in the materials as well. All right, well, if we don't have any more questions, I want to thank everybody for participating on the session. Special thanks to Ben and Steve, again, for sharing your information, sharing your knowledge with us on this session. We appreciate your partnership. We know that you bring a lot of value to our members and to our chapter. To their point, again, they have offered up to, if you're already in the sales process of buying an LMS, you have questions, they're happy to help you. Avoid any of some of the common pitfalls and things like that that you might encounter when implementing an LMS. So we appreciate their support with that as well. Last but not least, there's an opportunity for anyone that if you happen to be buying anything from ATD National in the upcoming future, there's a chip code which you see here on the screen. Anything that you purchase and you apply this chip code to, the chapter gets a revenue stream from National, so it helps us to continue to offer free webinars like this and our monthly programs. So it doesn't cost you anything other than time to enter it in, and we can continue to offer the great programs and resources that we believe we bring to all of you, and we appreciate your support in doing that. So thank you again. We have 3 minutes left. We hope you enjoyed this first Lunch and Learn. Look for the survey. We look for your feedback on topics, and we look forward to seeing you on the future events. So thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Thanks a lot, everybody.